Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today with a doozy of a Bethesda Game Studios news update. Today we are talking about the practical confirmation that Bethesda Game Studios' next game will include multiplayer. Now, if this was Bethesda Game Studios Montreal, I don't think most of us would bat an eye because they don't have an identity. But Bethesda Game Studios Maryland, Todd Howard's team, does have an identity, and that's the team that is developing this game. They're known for, obviously, Elder Scrolls and Fallout, two very popular and beloved single-player RPGs, and it appears times are changing. This information came through a job listing on Zenimax's website, which was sent to me via Twitter by John Anderson, so a big thanks to John for giving me the tip here. I really appreciate when you guys do that. The job listing that the information comes from is for a senior core tech engineer. Bethesda Game Studios is seeking a core tech engineer to help maintain, optimize, and extend our core engine technology. You will be assisting a small team of core engineers with graphics optimization, resource management, editor, exporters, audio input, and multi-platform support. Now that we have a general idea of what this job is, John kindly circled a couple of pieces of information within the job listing under the desired skills section that are dead giveaways for the multiplayer support of this title, starting off with experience developing for online multiplayer environment. Wow, yeah, it's actually that easy. I was kind of surprised myself that it was told to us through this, but regardless, we'll get into the pros and cons of that situation in a little bit. I just wanted to support the idea more that this is in fact a multiplayer game if that sentence wasn't enough for people. It also states that you need experience with Vulkan or DirectX 12. And when I looked at Vulkan, it says it's intended to provide a variety of advantages over other APIs as well as its spiritual predecessor, OpenGL. Vulkan offers lower overhead, more direct control over the GPU, and lower CPU usage. Essentially, this allows more flexibility for the developers. What's more interesting about the API listed is that these are not APIs supported within the creation engine. Linux and Unix OS support would actually require a brand new engine unless we're reworking the entire creation engine, and that wouldn't make sense because Bethesda themselves have come out and said, for example, with remastering a game, why remaster a whole thing instead of making a brand new one? The same logic can be applied to their engine. Why rework an entire engine that is actually notoriously buggy if you can make a brand new one? Obviously, the risk that comes with making a brand new engine is Bethesda Game Studios losing the potential of modding games. That's a big thing that a lot of people forget about when they complain about their engine, is that these are the most moddable games I can personally think of. And so making a new engine is a little bit more complicated, I think, for Bethesda and others I would imagine, considering the fact that we do have to take into consideration mods. But with this new OS support, it can suggest the idea that there is a brand new engine in the works as well. The big kicker is when I was looking at video games that supported Vulkan, such as Dota 2, Doom 2016, and Star Citizen, among a couple of others that were listed on this site. And to me, what stuck out there was, all those games are multiplayer or shared universes. Now it said Vulkan or DirectX 12, meaning you could be proficient in one or the other. DirectX 12, on the other hand, is a very interesting scenario here, because what I noticed with DirectX 12 was not only was it mentioned during the reveal of the specs for the Xbox Scorpio and how the point of that system was to make DirectX 12 kind of a mainstay thing for all developers, but the only ones that used DirectX 12 on the Xbox One were Microsoft exclusive games such as Gears of War 4, Quantum Break, etc. You could also look at other third-party games that are touted as graphically striking games such as Star Wars Battlefront. So what sticks out to me is that Vulkan suggests that this is definitely going to be something multiplayer, considering the fact that most games that use Vulkan support are for multiplayer titles, but also that DirectX 12 largely ties into games that are either really pretty or are exclusive to the Xbox and Windows PC. But what I want to focus on today is this multiplayer in a Bethesda Game Studios game, because it's just saying it there clear as day that there is going to be some type of online multiplayer environment in this game. So here's a fun fact, is that Bethesda actually designed a Fallout 4 multiplayer mode but scrapped it. According to an interview between Mashable and Bethesda executive producer Todd Howard, the development team working on Fallout 4 created initial design plans for a multiplayer mode early on in development. Surprisingly, Fallout 4 isn't the first game that they've considered creating a multiplayer mode for. Todd Howard says, believe it or not, every time we do a game, we design a multiplayer mode just to see what we would do. So this isn't really news if you paid attention during the Fallout 4 news cycle, that Bethesda has tried making multiplayer games before. But here's the thing, is that there has never been in a job listing for Bethesda Game Studios a multiplayer requirement. It's usually the passion to create a bleeding RPG or something along those lines. It's never said something about multiplayer. So the fact that they're hiring people with multiplayer experience makes me think to myself that they're definitely committing to whatever multiplayer mode they're creating. let's discuss the pros and cons of this situation here. The cons are clear as day. When you look at Bethesda Game Studios games, I know they are notoriously buggy. I never really have too many buggy experiences, but I've seen many videos online. It's clear people have performance issues with the title itself, not only in the terms of bugs, but also optimization in general, where some people struggle on very good PCs to hit 60 FPS on Fallout 4. So my initial concern when hearing this isn't, oh god, they're making a multiplayer game. It's, oh god, if they can't bug stomp in a single player game, how well can they bug stomp in a multiplayer game? I'd say my other concern would be that, well, they're known for single player games. They're pretty good at making single player games. They should just stick to that, because who knows how the multiplayer aspect would go. But I learned my lesson in an odd way with Horizon Zero Dawn. I put that game down so much prior to launch. I was like, there's no way the people who made Killzone could make a game like Horizon Zero Dawn and make it actually good. And it turns out that's one of my favorite games of this year. It's a fantastic game, and more importantly, it's a fantastic open world game, which they have never done before. So trying new things isn't a bad idea, and I don't think we should put down developers for trying to spread their wings and experiment a little bit. I think Fallout 4 showed that Bethesda Game Studios has good ideas, but they're applying them to the wrong series. And so what I'm assuming is that this isn't going to be a Fallout Online. Obviously, there's already an Elder Scrolls Online. It's that this is more than likely going to be tailored to the new IP that they're definitely creating. While it's not confirmed, it's very obvious that those three big and very different projects that Todd Howard was talking about, one of them has to be a brand new IP, and I'd imagine this one is it, the multiplayer one. The pros of this situation here is, provided it is a brand new IP, it's not going to be deviating further from what both these single player role-playing series, Fallout and Elder Scrolls, are known for. We've also had multiple multiplayer discussion videos about Bethesda Game Studios on the channel, and a lot of us have come down to the conclusion that if we were to have any type of multiplayer in a Bethesda Game Studios game, it would more than likely be, okay, just one other person co-op. Open world Bethesda game, I am fine with that. Outside of that, you know, you get that crazy 4-player, or you get a versus mode, or you get a shared Destiny-like universe. No, no, and no. I totally agree with that sentiment as well. Now, when we look into the future of games that Bethesda Game Studios is working on, I think Starfield would be a pretty good fit for a shared universe, just based off the idea of what Starfield could be. If you don't know what Starfield is, I'll have a video from myself linked in the description down below, fully explaining why I think it's Bethesda Game Studios' next game and what exactly it is. Simply the idea of exploring Bethesda Game Studios' detailed and interesting worlds with a friend, especially if it's in space and we're going planet to planet or something like that, that would actually be a very cool premise. But that's just a premise. We don't know if the game itself would work, or if that's even the idea or the series it's being applied to. I'm merely speculating at this point. But anyway, I just wanted to deliver to you guys the news that Bethesda Game Studios' next game will have multiplayer, and that's pretty insane to say. So I'm very, very curious to see how the comments are going to react. We shall see how that one goes. It'll, like I said, definitely be interesting. Anyway, be sure to follow me on Twitter, like me on Facebook. The links are in the description down below. Do consider contributing to our Patreon. It fuels all the content we create here. Other than that, stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.